speak to a subject that is not on today's agenda, go ahead and raise your hand. Not seeing anyone raise their hand, we'll move on to the agenda status report. Is there a change to today's agenda?
I have no changes to today's agenda.
Okay. Then we'll move on to the approval of meeting minutes for February 25th. Members, you had received in your packet the unofficial meeting minutes. At this time, I'll ask if you have any corrections or comments on those minutes. I think the only thing that I saw was a blanket that we are N bar, not C bar. So if we can make that change, that'd be great.
Absolutely. Where was that? I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
That's on everywhere where it says comments, N bar comments.
I see. Sorry. Yeah, I'll change that.
Thank you. Kevin or Steve, did you have any comments or revisions you'd like to make on the meeting minutes?
I was fine with them as presented.
I'm assuming you as well, Steve. Okay, then at this time, I'll ask for a motion to approve the meeting minutes for February 25th.
I'm fine with that, Chair. I'm having some operational error here. I don't know. Okay, but I'm fine with the minutes.
Perfect. Then with the
So I'll make the motion for
thank you very
approval.
much.
I'll second.
Thank you. And a vote in favor of approving the meeting minutes as corrected, say aye.
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 Okay, great. Those meeting minutes are approved. We'll move on to the N-bar informational briefings. Has anybody had any contact with applicants, supervisors, planning staff?
No.
Move right along to the staff update.
Hi there. I don't have anything in particular for today's meeting. It's been a little bit quiet in the North County lately. I do know that SBAR recently opted to return. Jonathan might have more information on this. I know that some of the bars down south have opted to return to in-person. So Jonathan, do you have any details about that?
Yeah, the next SBAR hearing will be held in person. They voted to go back to in-person meetings. And as far as I know, it's the only board that's voted to go back to in-person hearings.
Then with that said, I'd like to discuss our returning back to in-person meetings. So as per our standard meetings, we call the vote for either staying with the online meetings versus returning back to an in-person meeting. So I'll ask for a vote on whether or not we should return to in-person meetings. I know that Jim likes to have would like to continue on with online meetings. Steve and Kevin, do you have an opinion on that?
If we go back to in-person meetings, would a individual board member have the option of doing it online?
Again, the only thing that he would have to publish his address.
Mr. Chair, I believe they have to publish the address, and if anybody in the area would like to attend the meeting at that person's address, they would be able to do so.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility that like maybe an office at the North County location where Jim could connect might be able to be used so that he could stay in a private office with, in theory, anyone could also attend there, but that way he might feel a little bit more secure for his health. I don't know if that's a possibility or not, but
I actually like the online meetings only for convenience.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, if the public feels they're better served by being able to look us in the eye, then I'm willing to go back to in-person meetings.
Now,
Yeah.
Jonathan, do we have the facilities available to us?
That would be something I have to talk to David with.
Okay.
You can get it, I can get your edge of that though.
I kind
So,
of think that, that I would also eventually like to go back to in-person meetings, because I feel like as members, as architects, we can better analyze, better understand the projects when we can see the actual materials in person. We can have face-to-face conversation. I think it's a little bit easier, but I agree with Kevin that there's certainly a convenience aspect to staying remote. And secondly, I'm not sure what Jim's, if he's even willing to stay on if we go back to in-person too soon. So I
Yeah.
guess for this particular opportunity, we need to vote to at least one more month stay remote, and get some discussion with Jim going, and maybe with the planning staff, how we might be able to facilitate a situation that will work for Jim, as Shannon mentioned, and the rest of us in general. So I know it's also easier for the planners and probably for the applicants if they don't have to travel all the way to a location, but I do think we get a better product when we have in person.
I totally agree with that. I think we, because of the limitations as far as time is concerned, we need to vote pretty much every meeting whether or not to continue with online. And that's why I bring it up. Jonathan, if you can discuss with David the item that Shannon brought up and the availability of a location for us, that'd be great. I think right now we'll just ask for a vote real quick so we can make it official that we continue with our online meetings until we can get a better handle on location and Jim's situation. So,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
if we know a past applicant, would it be inappropriate to discuss it with them and how they felt? Would they have preferred an in-person, or they liked the online type of thing, just to get a feel for what applicants think?
I don't think that would be an issue. Certainly that applicants can have that discussion with planning staff. And
Well, I know Scott Dominguez, and he presented. I know the architect for Bob Spallino, who's coming up. I can talk to her, see how she feels. And some of the other applicants that I know, just in business wise. And I think you probably know a few, and Steve knows maybe some, Jim might. Just to get a feel of how their experience was, not discussing a current project that's going to be before the board.
I think that's a good idea, Kevin. I think that we can gain some input from various sources, and then have a better, rather than just making a cut and dry decision today. I think we need to really explore how everybody feels with the way it's working right now, both the planners, the applicants, and obviously Jim as well. So I would suggest I would move that we vote to continue online for the current month, with the caveat that we discuss these matters both from the planning side, applicant side, and within our own membership, to see how we might best facilitate our service to the public.
second that. So All in favor of staying with our online meetings for another 30 days, say aye.
Aye.
So with that out of the way, we'll move on to the first item on today's agenda, the East Clark SB LLC Cannabis Retail Storefront signage, BAR number 21-00232. If the applicant is available and ready, go ahead and introduce yourselves for the record and begin your presentation.
I'm sorry, what location are you referring to? Is that 1604 East Clark? Because it didn't sound familiar what you referenced.
That is 1604 East Clark Avenue.
Okay. So can I share my screen?
Yeah, I'm giving you the rights to share your screen right now, so you should be able to.
Okay, thank you.
Anna, can you identify yourself from, I'm at a loss to who you are.
Yes, Anna Mendoza. I am VP of Licensing and Entitlements for this organization. I'm here today with my architect, Virginia from RDC, and would like to share my screen at some point.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Virginia Jory from RDC.
Will you be presenting the presentation?
Well, all we brought today was our signage package.
So that's what he means, is just if you can present the plans for the signage.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time sharing my screen here. Oh, there it is on the bottom. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
And do you see the signage package, the elevations?
I see an Excel document.
You had it up a minute ago. Now it's the Excel.
Oh, that's weird. Okay. Is it there now?
It is.
All right. Virginia, do you just want to enlighten everyone?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So we are moving into the existing building B on this property, and the exterior of the building is not being modified. We are only adding our signage in the designated sign area on the top fascia. We are allowed one sign on the north elevation and one sign on the east elevation. They're both pin mounted letters, channel lit halo. So the lighting is only pointing back at the building and kind of being dispersed around the back of it. There's no lighting projecting through the front of the sign. And it is in the brand color, which is like a yellow color. And Anna, you can go to the next page too, and there's a little more detail on the construction of the sign if you're interested in that.
So also for some of you who are aware, initially we had proposed to do a cookies here, but given the feedback from the community and the concern with the appeal to children and whatnot, we took the initiative and have asked for permission to change the brand and DBA. The business structure has not changed. It is strictly, we are proposing the brand change. We've received, we've been corresponding with the county, and there does not seem to be a problem. So we are presenting to you all today. And that concludes our presentation.
Let us know if there's any more detail you'd like us to elaborate on.
Okay, thank you. Hey, Jonathan, if you can, Bobby is in attendance as an attendee. If you can change him to a panelist, that'd be great.
Absolutely. Just give me 1 second. Oh, is he the one calling in?
Yeah, he called in.
Okay.
Who's the planner?
Hey, Ray's the planner, I believe, on this one.
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if I am able to move him over as a panelist if he's calling in. He may need to go in as a attendee, so then I can move him over. I think calling in, I won't allow him to be moved over as a panelist.
Yeah, because he said that he is currently an attendee. Okay, well, I'll have him try to call back in.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
For the record, I was the landscape architect for this project, for this entire site. I have no connection to this applicant at all. So I will leave it up to your decision if I need to step down.
As you were helping out with the overall, with all the buildings on the site, I don't think.
Kevin, you were the landscape architect before there was any.
Yeah, before there was any tenant, so.
Right.
Correct.
I think
Yes.
you're fine to
Yeah.
stay.
Okay, I want that to be on the record then, so there's no question later on. I was the landscape architect for the master developer of the site, but I have no connection to this applicant.
Okay. So, Narita, are you there?
Yeah, hi, I'm here. Yes,
Okay.
I'm a planner for this project. I submitted a memo too, which basically just goes over what was already said. This used to be proposed, the name proposed used to be Cookies. Now it's Dr. Green Thumbs. Under the Land Use and Development Code, we have no authority over the name. So we are okay with the signage as is proposed.
Okay, and it meets all the sign requirements?
Yes, I did review the sign requirements for the LUDC. As far as I can see, it does.
So Ray,
There was no sign program for this site? Was there as part of the original development?
Not that I could find. If you are aware of some larger plan, then I can certainly look into it. But I didn't see anything in the original development when I looked through that record.
I honestly don't remember. I worked on it about 4 or 5 years ago, so.
I don't
Okay,
recall a sign program
double,
came through us.
double, triple check. What was that?
I said, I don't recall a sign program the time it came before us.
Yeah,
To my knowledge,
Mhm.
when I worked on the zoning clearances for the actual structures, and I don't believe that there's an overall sign plan case for the project.
Thank
very
you,
well.
Shannon. Yeah, so I'm glad I didn't miss anything.
Perfect.
And Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if Mr. Bobby would like to make comment on this, he could unmute himself and press *6. I have allowed him to talk.
Okay, great. Bobby, did you get that?
I got it. I heard everything, and I don't have any comments on it. It's fine.
Okay. Then I'll ask the
Well, I have
remaining.
one quick question though for Ray. Chair.
Yes.
It appears that this is agendized for conceptual, preliminary, and final. But is this project been through the planning commission for the county, and is it definitely going forward, or are we granting a final approval for something that is still not approved in terms of the use?
Yeah, that's a good question, Steve. So this entire project is actually under a land use permit. So it is director level, so it will not be going to hearing. Specifically for the signage, that actually falls under a signed certificate of conformance. So this BAR is more so attached to the SCC. So there will be no hearing. So you're not limited to just giving conceptual.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ray.
Yeah, because it's just a sign permit right now.
Well,
Um,
I also have no issues with this sign. I think it's
Kevin, do you have any comments on the sign?
No, I'm fine the way it is. I have
Okay.
no comments.
Then at this time, I'll ask if there are any members in attendance, any people in attendance that would like to speak on this issue.
Does look like I have one person signed up for a public comment.
Okay.
Jerry Nguyen, I have unmuted you.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. Hi. My name is Jeremy Nguyen. I live in Cimarron Estates, which is the small housing tract that's actually connected to this piece of property. I'm glad to hear some of the questions you guys have been asking, because this meeting did feel a bit like putting the cart before the horse to me. I'm not exactly familiar with the whole process that goes on here. I know we're discussing the signage for this cannabis business even before the LUP has been approved. We as the local homeowners, we've been looking into this matter a lot, and we've actually discovered or uncovered multiple inaccuracies, both in the original criteria-based application and the LUP that's gotten us to this point today. We're still pursuing that, and we're hoping that with our push, the county will see the need to follow their own code ordinances and invite the number 2 ranked applicant to apply for the land use permit. In other words, not put this cannabis shop in this location. I understand that's not what this meeting is about today, so I'm gonna try to stick to the signage. I feel it's completely inappropriate to be advertising the outside of this building a Schedule I controlled substance, especially being in such close proximity to a children's park. The park currently exists in our small neighborhood and has a direct sight line to the very building that we're discussing today. Not only is the park close to the building, but Stillwell, which is the road that runs right down the side of this building, is the only ingress and egress for all of the houses south of this property. This is an established bus path that will be driving nearly 75 children by the shop twice every school day. Advertising a marijuana shop to these children, to me, is not acceptable. What sort of a message is this sending to them? We're not talking about a medical, holistic healing business either. Their business is geared towards recreational and entertainment uses. It's how they advertise these drugs on their own established websites. So I initially was prepared to argue against cookies, and like you guys described, they've changed the name to Dr. Green Thumbs. This still causes a problem to me, as the criteria-based application and the LUP both specifically call out cookies and both specifically call out the type of signage that they're putting on the outside of the building. So that's just one of the issues we're still fighting or discussing. So what does this mean for us here? It's my belief that if we allow the developer to put signs up on the building advertising this cannabis company, there's nothing stopping the developer from changing the company name again back to what it was originally proposed or worse, right? The cookies sign next to a school, next to a park or a school bus stop. It's just inappropriate. I see this as a likely situation of the developer changing names. After all, it was a handful of years ago when we had Jerry Schmid, one of the developers for this project, sat here and described to this very group, the architectural board, that this particular location was going to be an upscale, family-friendly venue. I don't know about you guys, but a marijuana shop is absolutely not a family-friendly venue or a location, one in which I would bring my children, especially since no one under 18 can even get past the front doors because they have armed guards. I believe after watching how the application process has been carried out this far, that the builders in other words, cannot be trusted to not to change a name later on down the line once they've gotten approval. Ultimately, I do not believe that we should allow for advertising of a cannabis business on the outside of this building. If the operators of the business wish to advertise, let them do that online or in the yellow pages if anyone still uses those. But to put this business in front of our children daily is not what Orchid needs. I'm not alone in these thoughts. We've walked the neighborhoods. We have a sizable backing of neighbors, specifically down Stillwell, as well as into Tiffany Park, which is right across Clark from where this business is located. I appreciate your time, and I hope you guys take that into consideration.
Thank you. With that, would the applicant like to respond to the comments made by the public comment?
Virginia, do you want to talk about where the sign is and the fact that there is no signage on Stillwell, or?
Sure. Do you want to scroll up to the site plan? That may help.
Oh, you know what? I don't have the
You don't
site
have it.
plan on here.
Well, the elevations are okay because so one faces north, which is towards Clark, but there are two other buildings between us and Clark. And the other sign faces east to the part of the property that is still undeveloped. I think there's a future development going in, but it's not there yet. So there's actually no sign that faces Stillwell on our building. The other side of this building is a nail salon, and they'll have their own signage.
From Stillwell, as you're driving down Stillwell, you can still see the sign that is facing north. I'm not trying to call you out, but without a doubt, like that nail sign shop, they have one that faces north, and this would be on the exact same facing wall. I know it. I drive by it every single day, and without a doubt.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you. The applicant basically is directing their comments back to the board members. We've given you an opportunity to speak, and then I just wanted to make sure that they understood your situation. Is there any other comments from the board at this time?
Mr. Chair, I do have one other person in the attendees. I would like to see if they'd like to make a public comment, if they'd like to raise their hand for this.
Just a quick question before that. Virginia, does the east sign face the 101 freeway then?
It does. It faces the undeveloped part of this property, like kind of towards the northeast. Mhm.
Thank you. I
Towards
understand.
Clark. Yeah.
It doesn't look like we have anybody else for public comment for this item.
As discussed, the signage itself complies with the sign ordinance. That's the reason it's in front of us now. With no other comments from the members, the applicant has completed their presentation. They are agendized for conceptual, preliminary, and final. We are only providing an opinion for potential approval on the sign package itself. Its design, its coloring, its lighting, and the fact that it meets the sign requirement. So at this time, I'll ask for a vote to grant to grant preliminary and final approval on this sign package.
Are you looking for a motion?
I'm looking for a motion.
So moved.
Seconded.
Second.
Thank you. So then at this time, if you can unmute Bobby, I'll ask for a vote to approve, grant preliminary approval and final approval for this sign package. All in favor, say aye.
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 Mr. Chair, it appears Bobby has left the attendees list.
Okay. Well, we still have quorum, so The applicant has been granted preliminary and final approval for the sign package. Work with your planner to get the requirements, required documents back to her for stamping. Good luck with the rest of your project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving now on to item number 2, BIR number 21-00084. Bello Formal Edition. If the applicant is ready, go ahead and indicate so. Introduce yourself for the record and anybody who is also going to speak on this project on your behalf.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I also need to make a statement for the record. I frequently work with this architect, Studio 2G, though I'm not involved in this project at all. So if anybody has an objection, I'll happily step aside. You do have quorum, so.
Actually, we don't, if Bobby's not here.
Okay,
So you're staying.
okay, as long as there's no objection to
No,
it.
I don't have any objection to it.
I
Okay,
have no objection either.
So if the applicant would like to begin.
Sure.
Yeah, this is,
Oh,
go ahead, Laura.
Oh, I was going to say, sorry. Good morning. This is Laura Goff with Studio 2G Architects. And Bob, go ahead.
No, I just let you, we're planning on trying to add a courtyard and expand a kitchen onto the back of the restaurant to accommodate the demand for the restaurant and to enhance Old Orchid and the whole vibe down there. So I'll let Laura take over.
I was trying to share the screen, but it says disabled.
I just gave you the rights to share the screen now, so you should be able to good to go.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Yes, you reviewed this for conceptual review back in June of last year, and we've come back in with another, well, the same package basically, but with a couple of revisions. You've seen most of it already, but the back building that we're adding on as a freestanding structure is now 1 story. And the courtyard used to have a retractable awning covering the whole thing, and that has been removed now. It's just umbrellas. So let me go to the elevations. That way you can see a little what the changes are. So most of it, like I said, you've already reviewed. I can walk through the plan if you need me to, but it was just mainly to show you what the revisions are to the plans, and that we're looking for preliminary approval. I'm good at that. These are just some of the images of the interior courtyard. Since most of the new addition is interior, exterior, obviously with a courtyard, but interior from any view from outside on the street, we're just basically kind of showing you some of the images. And we did work with PG&E to make sure that we found out where the power line is in relationship to the elevations for the back building.
Or are you in plan check right now?
We are not. We're still in schematic review, and if we receive preliminary approval, we would be going in for building review.
so Laura, there's not a real big change other than the 1 story. Is that what I heard you say?
That is correct. And so yes, basically the back building was 2-story. We reduced it down to 1 story. The trash enclosure had doors that swung out into the alleyway. It's now roll-up doors. Let me see if I can go to that so that you can see the roll-up doors there. The patio was a raised deck. It's now a concrete slab. And the based on the code, we did have to raise parapets on either side of the extension to the kitchen.
Laura, is that a pizza oven that you're proposing in there?
It is a pizza oven inside the new freestanding building. Let's see, let me go to it. So it would be interior right here.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Obviously, that's an accessible path of travel and exit out that back gate.
Correct, correct.
Are you going to put truncated domes over that water meter?
Yeah, that's good. Good question on that one. Yeah, we might have to set it back or put it right towards the gate.
If you do, I'd like to see that.
I'd like to compliment you on the nice job you did here. I think getting rid of that second floor was very beneficial. Looks good to me.
Thank you.
I have no comments. It's so close to what we saw before. I think they should keep moving.
Yeah, I like the umbrellas versus the roof back to bottom.
Are there any other questions that you might have, or?
Apparently, with the silence, I'm guessing no.
No, I think we should move this forward.
I agree.
Then is there anyone in the public that would like to speak on this item?
Mr. Chair, I have one person here. William, I have unmuted you. William, you have to unmute yourself so you can make a public comment.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I've never done this before, so it's kind of new to me, but I'm the neighbor right next to it, the 117 East Clark. I have renters in there at this time. And I just have concerns with the utilities, the overhead electrical, because I think the power pole is on my property. At this time, I haven't been up there for a while, so I don't know exactly if there's been any changes, but that's some of the concerns I have is actually all the utilities, the gas, the electric, and the water, because my building is in between the two buildings adjacent to me, and we all share, that used to be one building. We all share the same roof. It used to be one structure. So I don't know if there's firewalls in there or anything, all that kind of stuff, but I just have a concern with that fencing. It's not a solid wall. I don't know what I'm going to do with my property in the future. I'm going to be smelling pizza and everything in the back there. I have to have access to get into my property. At this point, they're going to be blocking it. There's just a lot of concerns with me there for this upgrade that they're doing on their property. And I've been kind of out of the loop, so I'd rather be more in the loop, but there's some real concerns that I have. Being the same, sharing the same building with those, with that structure. So,
Now,
anyways,
what side are you on?
if you're facing the front from the street from Clark, I'm on the left side. I'm in between the bar and the pizza. So I'm in between those two properties, but we all share the same roof. It used to be one building back in the 40s.
So Bill, I in terms of access, the access to your back lot doesn't change.
Well, I got to turn around and go back up. I have concern with people parking there because they're going to be walking around to access the back of that property. I mean, there's so many concerns with this thing, and I've been out of the loop. Nobody informs me about anything on this. So,
well,
you know, the cities, the county has got to look at the future. Like making those 3 different buildings have access from that back street to get into that property. I've been blocked in the front for all during COVID time, the front of my building, because they built out a customer eating area in front of my property. I mean, I've been going through a lot of things with that property the last few years. I mean, that's another concern, is that they're going to remove that decking on the street on Clark Avenue. Nobody ever gets back with me on any of this stuff. You know, I've tried to call so many departments in the county and nobody ever answers any questions.
Bill, I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have.
It's not you, Bob. It's the county approving the stuff you're getting away with. So I don't, you know, they have no idea that it's one building. They don't have any idea how the utilities are entering into the building. They have no idea that other adjacent properties are blocking that access in the parking back there. It's all about your little structure here, your upgrade of your building, and nobody else has been brought into the picture. So anyways, like I said, I've never done this before with this remote meeting thing and stuff. So anyway, the county people that I'm talking to right now, you guys are just approving this upgraded structure, or what is this?
No, we're going through the architectural review of it. So the look, the design, the aesthetic, they're still going to have to go into plan check with the building department on this. So they'll get utilities to look at it, fire, structural, planning staff, all of it.
All right, well, somebody needs to get a hold of me. I know the architect or somebody from the county has sent me some stuff, but I'm a general contractor, and I've been around real estate for a lot of years, and I'm trying to hold on to this property. I paid a lot of money for this property, and trying to get a return on my investment. It's been really hard because of the way you operate, and I'm at a distance. But that see-through fence just doesn't appeal to me. I mean, pizza smells good, when you go to eat it, but when you're smelling it every single day, that could be an issue for my tenants back there. And then, just, I don't know, it's just a lot of things, but my main concern is for the future, to get access to the back of my property. If the power pole is in the middle of my property and that line overhead goes into his property, I don't have any access to the back of my property until that power pole is moved, because it's right in the middle of my property.
Do we have any?
And I bought that property from the previous owner that had problems with the roof, because it's a shared roof. The codes on these are a lot different when they were converted to 3 different buildings than they are today. I need to get up there really and check this out. But anyway, that's the reason why I'm calling in today right now, to kind of slow this thing down a little bit.
Thank you.
Bill, just FYI on the smell of pizza, the smell doesn't come out of that flute because it burns at 800 degrees. So there is no pizza smell. There may be an initial when the oven is first fired up.
People are going to be eating out there in the back property. You're bringing food to serve them. I mean,
You're talking about the
right now
it's from a
closed. I don't even go to there to see the serving in the front on Clark Avenue, because I haven't been up there. But at night when you guys are open, but I can imagine a patio area in the back there. You have an oven in the front and an oven in the back. I don't know what's going on, but really what I'm calling about right now today is slow this thing down and give me some idea where the power poles are going to be and all the utilities are going to be, so I can plan for my future and not be blocked from this that I approve of at this point.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, sir.
We had PG&E come out and look at that whole power line situation, because everyone's lines are crossing over everybody's property.
Well, gentlemen, I appreciate this discussion at this time, but I think you guys can have that between yourselves with regards to the interaction of the 2 property owners versus the during
Yeah, I
this meeting.
understand, you know, it's the county's time and everything right now, but I mean, what is it you need from me? I mean, I'm just calling to say a little bit of my concerns.
And that's what we needed.
Okay,
We needed to get that on the record. So thank
all
you
right,
very
well,
much.
thank you for doing that for me.
Laura, this is Steve. Do you have a drawing that shows the overall vicinity there, or where the parking is located and the pole he's referring to?
Right here's the pole.
So it's in the planner. It's in the existing planner.
Yes, yeah, where it drops off basically, and it's just vegetation. It's right located here. There is another service pole right here on this property. But like Bob said, we worked with PG&E to try to figure it all out to clean up those lines back there.
Laura, can you indicate the 2 access points that'll remain to the parking lot too?
There's this access point, and then there's this access point.
Well,
No, that one
one's
doesn't
gone.
exist.
Yeah, that one's gone.
Yeah,
That one-
This is an old image then. So
Yeah.
then it's this access point.
Yeah, and then one in the Clark
And then-
Avenue up in the front
Right here.
is there, but
Right,
that's
yeah.
not our properties. That's the liquor store's property. He can block me off any day, any time he wants.
Now, who's the planner on this one?
The only access we have is that little street in the back, and that's where my power pole is in the middle of my property. It looks like I'm
Mr.
getting,
Chair, the planner on the project is Tina Matson, or sorry, Tina Mitchell.
Yeah,
Available?
I'm here. Yes.
Okay, great. So, with regards to access, is
Yes.
there a shared access agreement for these buildings in that parking lot?
So we reviewed a title report for this property and there was no indication of like a shared access agreement. There's no easements going over this property that I could find.
Well, looking at a current Google image of the property, it seems that K's has already put up a fence and restriped their portion of that parking lot.
That's correct.
correct.
I mean, it doesn't look usable to me because it looks like you drive in, then you gotta back all the way out. But,
Correct.
With that, with the number of businesses that are on that site, I kind of find it hard to believe that there is not a shared access agreement so that the tenants can use both the driveway on Clark and then the driveway on the west side. Yeah, west side.
Exactly. Both Portofino and me, we used to be able to get out over there by K's, not anymore.
What is that a storm drain that runs through there?
No, it's a little street. There's condos in the back there.
And let's,
but,
can we direct this
our
question
elevation,
to
we
Laura
dropped
Goff?
down- We dropped down like 2
Yeah.
to 3 feet down to that street from our elevation.
Well, my question was for Laura.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, there is a storm drain that goes and crosses basically from this corner here all the way through to an outlet over here.
But there's buildings on top of it.
Yeah,
Right, right, I know.
and there's new building. There's that new.
Well, that building on the corner is new, and then the one adjacent to I guess to the left is.
Tina, have you had any communication with flood control about the easement or Public Works or whoever?
Yeah, so I have been in contact with Public Works, the roads department, and they've seen these plans and they had no comments on the project as proposed, since it's just the patio that will be over the storm drain easement. There's no permanent structures over it.
Well, not on this particular site, but just to the right there are.
Yeah,
Can I ask a question, Mike?
You can, Bobby.
Are these properties separate APNs, or is it all one APN with and basically tenant improvements?
they're separate APNs.
So they're all separate APNs?
And separate legal parcels.
Thank you. Yeah.
With a shared roof.
with a shared roof. Interesting
Exactly.
conglomerate. I'm with Mike. How do you not have some kind of shared easement agreement? That's amazing that there's just not one, and that nobody can find it in title. Got to be something.
Thanks. For years, they had 3 access points and they shared that parking lot.
Yeah, I think my biggest issue is trying to get access from the back there. I mean, if you guys can work something out into the plan, I'd probably be open to it. So in the future, I can drive up through the back, make my own little driveway. That's, because I know I'm getting locked in here.
I can appreciate this dialogue, but as long as there's access to the project and planning staff can make the findings related to services and access, it's really not our purview. It sounds like this is largely a civil issue, and staff, as Tina stated, has reviewed the title reports. It's been discussed internally, and if there isn't a shared access agreement, I mean, I agree in principle that there should be. It might just be the age of these properties. Perhaps when they were subdivided, they didn't consider doing a reservation of easement or something
Well,
like that.
they could go underground utilities or
Excuse me.
something.
Hold on.
Excuse me.
So, I mean, I really don't think that this is an item for the MBAR to consider necessarily. And really, it does sound like a civil issue that perhaps the remaining property owners need to.
Who's speaking anyway? Who are you?
I'm the NBAR staff planner, Shannon Reese.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is, but
okay. Well,
I guess I just need to do more of my homework.
Hey,
I want
Mike.
to make sure
Yes,
this
sir.
is completely on their property.
Yeah, Bobby.
It's this guy.
If I get out of the floor. I partially agree with what she was saying, but still in all, if we're allowing, in a purview sense, I agree that it's probably a civil issue in its basis. However, if we're allowing and we're conforming a structure of any kind that would impact another property owner, it's within the purview of BAR to decide whether that's in keeping with the general surroundings and the aesthetics of the project. So in a slightly broad sense, if we're allowing somebody to do something on their property that impacts the property owner to either side of them or front or back, it falls within our purview. And so, because that's what we do, we look for general conformity, right? And following guidelines that have been established. So to say it's just a civil issue and for us to go ahead and stamp it as, okay, we like it and it's fine, I think would be a miscarriage of the justice that we are entitled to do and expected to do. So if there's something there that we're looking at that's going to be put into that property that directly affects another property owner, I think we have to take that into full consideration. Now, that being said, I don't know what the legality of it is, and can they do it? I think somebody in Public Works probably should have something to say about this, since they have so much to say about how parking and access and all that stuff works.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Bobby. But here's the thing.
Thank you.
Here's the thing, that looking back at this site, the access from the alley, for a lack of a better term, is basically they stopped a 6-inch concrete curb that sits on the property that is Kay's Country Kitchen. There's probably about a 2-foot section of space onto the Horno property. So when Kay's put up the fence and did their parking lot, they're the people who actually took away the access, not this project.
Right, okay.
So, and I agree, this is a civil thing. It's mind blowing to me that there isn't a shared access agreement, because they are individual parcels, and by this example, they can pretty much propose full use of that entire parcel. But with regards to
Well, that's what I said. I don't know the legality of it, but I think that I do believe that, you know, to just dismiss it as we have no purview on it, I don't think that's correct. That's what I was saying. So,
well, I think, you know, by granting them preliminary approval, they can move on to the plan check process. And with that, they can be under review by Public Works, by roads, by the building department. And then, you know, during that process, come back to us for final.
Well, Michael, I have a quick question here for either Tina or Shannon. Is there a requirement for parking on any of these sites?
I can answer that. No, this is in the core pedestrian area, so there's no
Right.
parking.
So there's no requirement yet. The parking is provided at a convenience.
Thank you.
So, I mean, getting back to it, there's going to be a heavier review by other departments, and they're going to comment on everything that we're speaking about now with regards to access and parking. So, and with the fact that, you know, no parking is required, it kind of puts everything up in the air. But to go back, Bobby, I think, you know, giving this preliminary approval would advance them in the process, and then it would raise more questions, and they would have to provide more answers outside of, you know, what we would normally look at. So that's just my 2 cents.
yes, Mike, I'm in agreement with you. I just wanted to make sure that my opinion was heard about the fact of the purview. You know, that was the concern, that to say that it was only civil, I don't think it is only civil. I mean, and that's all I was trying to say. I agree with you. I think that it should move forward with preliminary approval, and then let the powers that be decide, you know, clean up the problems and issues. And I think the adjacent property owners should be, you know, closely involved, so that they make sure that they keep their property in whatever tack that it was purchased in, if that's a possibility.
Thank you.
With that said, does the board have any other comments for the project at this time?
I do have a quick question for either Tina or Shannon. Can this project ultimately be conditioned with in place reciprocal access and drive and parking agreement? Is that something that can be pushed later on, or should that be determined at this point?
To require them to record
Mm-hmm.
some sort of easement. Well,
Yes.
if it was a subdivision, we might have the purview to do that. Given that it's not, and it appears that there is no existing easement in place, again, it would be a civil issue, and I don't think that there's a nexus to require that type of easement to be recorded. Yeah, I mean, Tina is the expert because she's done the research on this, but Tina, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think you covered it pretty well. We've, you know, carefully looked into this, and we'll continue to look into it before approval of the land use permit. So I think you guys can move forward with your approval if you're comfortable.
Well, thank you very much. With no other comments from the board, I think the applicant has done what we have requested. He's made definite improvements to the project. So with that said, at this time, I'll ask for a motion to grant preliminary approval for this so that they can move on to the more to the other process and get this thing into a plan check and get the other departments to review. So I'm asking for a motion to approve this preliminary. Preliminary
So
approval.
moved, Mike.
Can I get a second?
I moved to
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor of granting preliminary approval for this project, say aye.
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 I'll vote aye, but I will not vote aye for final until we have some resolution on this parking issue.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be forthcoming. So with that, seems that you are granted preliminary approval. Go ahead and work with your planners. And good luck with the rest of the process.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we will move on to the final item on today's agenda. The AR number 19-00070, the Tyler Winery Tier 2. If the applicant is ready, you can go ahead and introduce yourselves for the record and we will begin.
Morning, everyone. This is Julia Oberhoff. I'm with 10 Over Studio, an agent for the applicant. We're the architects and landscape architects for the project.
Welcome.
Will you be doing the presentation today for the project?
Yes, I will.
Okay, let me just make you co-host really quick and you'll have the rights to share your screen.
Okay. Can everyone see the screen? Can you all see the screen?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay, so this has been a long time coming. Let's see, the last time we saw you for conceptual was back in May of 2019. I think things due to COVID and a number of different reasons, it's taken quite some time, but thank you, Shannon, for continuing to assist us through the process. So here today to show you some refinements that we've made since that the conceptual review. So I'll walk you through the design here. The site plan hasn't changed since you last saw it, other than refinements to this landscape design in the courtyard, and then just how we're connecting the landscape up to the existing residence with a small footpath. But otherwise, the general layout has remained the same. A few other site indications you see here a couple of circles up here. Those are actually in-ground cisterns. They are not above ground water tanks. So I just want to clear that up. And I'll go through the architecture. The floor plans haven't changed since you last saw them. This is building 1, which is barrel storage and case good storage. Building 2 is the processing tank room plus fermentation room and winery lab. Building 3 is an accessory ag storage building. And building 4 is the small hospitality reception tasting area and offices. I'll just jump back to the site plan again to orient you all. Oops, So here again is the kind of going counterclockwise. Building 1 is at the northeast corner. Building 2 is that process building. Jumping over across, building 3 is the accessory ag building, and then building 4 here. The project still has two entry gates. One down at the southern end is for primarily for access up to the residences, but then also gives guest access to a handful of parking spaces right here at the south of building 2. And then the northernmost gate is for winery processing. So during crush, that's when, vehicles would come in, or bottling, et cetera. County Fire has reviewed and approved the layout in terms of access. The collection of spaces right here would be for staff. And then we can look at the grading plan, but this area right here, the parking is lower than the drive. And then we've got a screening of plantings along the road's edge here, and then running along the south side of buildings 3 and then around. So I can walk you through the landscape plan if you have any questions there. So I'll skip past floor plans and go to elevations. The materials which I have, and there was a physical material board for the buildings. Most of the buildings, with the exception of building 3, are going to be finished in a Santa Barbara smooth stucco. The color is, let's go up here. It's a oat grain. It's kind of a creamy white. The stone veneer used on site walls and on some of the buildings themselves and at the fireplace chimney is a Lompoc stone. Indigenous to the area. And it'll be a true, it'll be a thin veneer set in kind of a rustic ashlar pattern. The wood sample here is just a semi-transparent stained cedar, which we would be using for any timber accents, or we'll see at building 4, there's a shade cover and trellis design out of that. The metal sample right here is dark bronze. It's a pre-finished metal paneling, which will be used for building 3's walls, and then all 4 of the building's roofing material. Item 6 here is the finish, proposed finish for window and door trim. And then this last sample here, number 7, is just showing you the coloring for shade cloth, which would be at building 4, and then also for a demountable shade structure over the covered crush pad, which I'll show you what that looks like in one of the perspective views. So here we are looking at exterior elevations. This is building 1. This is the south elevation, and that's, again, this is barrel and case good storage. The building is banked into the hillside, and so it is retaining, as you can see here on the north elevation. It has a much more reduced profile. And then there is a bit of exposed concrete on that backside and on the east side, but where we felt it would be most viewed, we've applied that Lompoc stone veneer. These are the elevations for building 2, which was the tank processing room and then fermentation room. And so this elevation east is the elevation which faces the courtyard. We've got our lab here with, we've added some windows since you last saw it to the lab, bringing in some daylight there. The person doors into each of the spaces now have glass, also bringing in daylight. And then other changes on the west side, we've added a series of clear story windows, again, giving some daylighting into those spaces. Another detail that's clouded, which has been added since you last saw it, is the size and profile of the intake hoods, providing fresh air into both of the spaces. And I think I forgot to mention that on building 1 as well. Those are intake hoods. Low profile, and they'll have a finish that matches the roof material, and it also has sort of a standing seam ribbed pattern that somewhat mimics the standing seam design of the roof panels. This is building 3. The representation is showing a little bit dark, but you can go back to this color board. This is the true color of what the wall paneling would be for building 3. And it's an insulated wall panel. So it comes pre-finished, and it's a pretty effective and efficient way for paneling what's going to be just an ag storage building. This is building 4, which also you can see here. There's what I mentioned was the wood trellis structure that provides shade on at the outdoor, the east side and north side of the building. And materials we've already covered. This page here, the only change since you last saw it is the size and scale of the monument sign, which would be down at Highway 246. It's quite simple. It's just a simple 4 foot tall, approximately 6 feet vertical stuccoed surface with a minimal area for the Tyler Winery logo. The gates and trash enclosure would be a vertical wood paneling, again matching the finish of the sample board here, with balanced by 2 solid pilasters with the Lompoc stone. And then adjacent to those are short runs of low 5 foot wall, 5 foot high stucco walls. And I'll clarify the locations of those in the landscape plan. These are views, just this hasn't changed since the first set, but indicating what the existing conditions are. And then here are perspective views of the project. This doesn't do a great job. Again, we can go to the landscape plan, but there will be a greater collection of trees planted surrounding buildings 4 and 3. But you can see the nature of how building 1 is retained into that uphill side. It wasn't represented in the true elevations, but there are landscape planters that run along the faces of buildings 1 and 2, where it wouldn't otherwise conflict with the function of the crush pad. And then in this image, you can also see where we would propose this demountable shade cloth structure for the crush pad. And the footprint of that is about, it's 25 feet off of the face of building 2, and then it runs, from this roll-up door until it reaches the face of building 1. And
Julia, I have a quick question about that. So when you say demountable, is just the cover demountable, or the poles that are on the interior portion also demountable?
the poles as well. So those would be set in a kind of a slipped case, detail into the concrete pad, simply because they're not needed year round. They're only needed for that period when they're processing the fruit during crush.
Thank you.
And they're also, the placement of them doesn't obstruct fire access, coming through. So it's kind of really tucked into that corner.
That was my real question. So thank
sure.
you.
Yeah. You can kind of also get a sense of what that layout was. So of the courtyard space, this landscape area, we were just trying to define a couple of, smaller areas for, if it's guest picnic table seating, but just nestling those within a more naturalized setting of native plantings, which our plant palette reflects. These two images were new since the last time we visited with you, and they're basically giving you an existing. So this is a view from Highway 246. This is the existing access road. And then way off here in the distance, this is the existing residence. And then the proposed structures, winery facility will be right here. And then I'll pan over here and we can see the before and after. So small, very subtle monument sign with some plantings to anchor it. There are a couple of existing toyon and oak trees in this area. And so we would, supplement with similar plantings. And then zooming in, you can see here are the proposed buildings. There's the ag building, and then you can see it's a little, the resolution's a little rough, but you can get the idea that the design is very low profile. It really doesn't impact, much of what that landscape already looks today. Actually back here, this sheet was just illustrating where we have existing trees that need to be removed, and then where we are supplementing or supporting, other existing trees that are to remain. For the most part, other than the removal of this collection, which is along the current driveway into the residence, we aren't removing anything else down here. We're just taking advantage of that, what's otherwise an open field. There is a schedule of those trees, and none of them are oaks. We've got a couple of pines, and then the others are deciduous ornamental trees. Our landscape plan shows pretty extensive infill of plantings, again, to really help ground and soften the presence of the buildings, and then bring some shading and support these smaller outdoor spaces in the courtyard. Would you like me to go through the planting plan, or do you have any questions there? Or should I just continue on?
What do you have planted in front of buildings 1 and 2 in that narrow planter?
Oh, sure. That's Calamagrostis Carl Foster, which is a real vertical upright grass. I can just double check on that. Let's go and see the symbol. Oh, wait, do I stand corrected?
I think it's 30, the one with the 36, let's see. Yep. That one.
There it is. Thanks, Jen. So yeah, it's a, very 3 to 5 feet, but it's a very narrow plant, good for kind of that sort of tall accent, hedge-like application. We also have plantings that follow the vineyard down the access road. And then, like I was mentioning, a collection of a couple new olive tree, or no, those are oaks, excuse me, oaks and some toyon and other natives supporting the location of that monument. This is our hydrozone map. I'm happy to walk through this if anyone has specific questions, but everything is drought tolerant. We do have a drip emitting system with a, a climate sensor and automatic aeration controller. But you can see the water use for all of the different hydrozones is low, with the exception of zone 1 is labeled moderate, and that's because we have a few fruiting trees just right here within that courtyard. And that's continuing with the hydrozone plan down to the Highway 246. We've also included a lighting plan, landscape lighting plan. The style of fixtures that we have specified are a series of either low bollards. So these Lucifer bollards, they're only 20 inches in height. So just to be placed along pathways. L2 is a integral wall mounted fixture. 3 is an in-ground surface light. I'll show you where that's located. 4 is just a low voltage uplight where we have it, within the courtyard to light up a couple of those trees. And 5 is a small downlight mounted along fence posts. And so going into the plan here. So 3 was that one that looks like it's a surface mounted fixture. It's not a, again, I would just want to clarify, this is a really low voltage, low wattage light fixture, which is about a 2-inch in diameter. It's just a small path light. The reason why we chose that one versus a bollard is oftentimes bollards can be something that gets, knocked over, or so that's why we chose that for just providing some lighting to the entrance of building 4. The low bollard L1 you can see is interspersed along these meandering paths, bringing you into the landscape courtyard. L2, let's see where we've got. L2 is at our mechanical yard, just giving some lighting there when needed. L4, like I mentioned, we do have them at key locations for some of the oaks and or olives in the courtyard. We do also have them along these olive trees leading up to the residence instead of path lighting. And then lastly, L5 is a pole mounted fixture. The color, this shows white, but the color would be bronze. So it really is discreet against the natural cedar posts for that fencing that's along the easement, or the access drive. And those fixtures stop here at the point where the vineyard block stays on the, I guess I'd say the north or west side of this drainage right here. I don't know, there haven't been any changes to the grading plan, so I won't take any time walking through that, but I can happily ask any or answer any questions if there might be any. And I think with that, that probably concludes, everything that I wanted to present to you in terms of refinements we've made since the last time we saw you. Do you want me to stop sharing my screen or go to a particular page for any questions?
Sure. Does the board have any questions at this time?
I do have one quick question, Julia. It looks like you indicated a considerable amount of lighting in the sort of common area there outside of building 4. Do you anticipate this would be nighttime operations or nighttime customers?
Our use permit and the conditions of approval for the project have limited this to appointments only when for the gatherings that we are approved for, they're during the hours of operation, which Shannon, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's 10 to 4 or 9
It might go to 5.
9
I
to,
can't
9 to
recall
5.
exactly. Yeah.
Right. So we're limited at that time.
So a lot of that accent lighting will probably never be seen by the public.
Correct. And the public kind of engagement with this property really isn't the owner's main objective. This is more improvements for, even the staff that are on property. Like I mentioned, in building 4, we've got a collection of offices there. So,
Gotcha,
and it's
thank you.
appointment only. Yeah.
Well, I think you guys have done a nice job here. I look forward to seeing it built.
Thank you.
Kevin or Bobby?
I had a couple thoughts. In the courtyard area, you talked about nestling some of those areas into the landscape. You might achieve that goal a little better if you had some mounding in there.
Mm-hmm.
Consider that.
Mm-hmm.
The uplights into the trees. Since this is supposed to be a dark sky compliant area, would you consider downlighting from within the tree?
Sure.
So just a couple thoughts for you to think about. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you, Kevin.
I don't have any comments, Mike. I'm good.
All right, thanks, Bobby. Now, Laura, Julie, you're agendized for conceptual? Is that correct?
Shannon, is that correct, or is it conceptual and final, or?
It's prelim and final.
Sorry.
Yeah, because it's agendized as conceptual review.
Oh, that is not correct, because in the prior minutes, it was supposed to come back it actually came back in 2019 and then again last year in the late summer. And I will check the description that I sent in, but
yeah, because it looks like it in the comments, it says it's, may return for final with the required details.
Right. And they did incorporate those items.
Well, can we grant a preliminary approval today and final on consent?
That was a great idea. That was my thought as well, Kevin.
How far along are you guys in the process?
We
You submitted
received
for land use?
approval
Okay.
through zoning administration, and we are in a few weeks time about 8 weeks time, we'll be ready to submit to the building department.
Yeah, I don't have any issue with that. So there's nobody else here, right? With regards to the public, there's no one. It's all just us. Yeah.
Yeah, and the feedback overall from neighbors has been very positive.
I'm sure they're glad it's not Canada, so that's fine.
So if we grant preliminary and put final out as a consent calendar item for our next meeting, that would still give them final before they go in for plan check. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I think it's just it's going to depend on your schedule, Julia.
Mm-hmm.
You're 8 weeks out from your first submission, you think?
Yeah.
And they can still proceed, like we're working
concurrent.
Yeah. I mean, in order to grant, and Kevin, you can answer this, in order to grant final approval, we'd have to see the irrigation details and the planting details and all that?
Yes. And let me go back to it. I gotta open it up again, but I thought they had all that.
We have our hydrozone plan, water use calculations.
Okay.
We have our,
You don't have an actual irrigation plan then?
we have it completed. So if that's,
Yeah.
It's all drip anyway. Right?
Just
it's
put,
all drip irrigation, correct?
Yeah.
yeah. So if you just add that into your set with your details and yeah, then that would be enough for me because the planning plan's complete.
Okay.
It has the Muello calcs on it. In the hydrozone stuff. So yeah.
And right now, we're just working through the compliance items for the zoning clearance issuance. Not too much left. And the timing should line up just fine. It's not going to delay the project to come back on consent.
Okay.
That sounds great. Then with that said, I'll ask for a motion to grant preliminary approval. And with the caveat that we will do final approval on consent. With the details requested. And get these guys going, so. If I can get a motion.
I just realized there's no planting details either. So if you could include those two. Just your standard CD package.
Great.
So.
I'll make the motion. We approve this project for preliminary with the condition that it comes back on consent for final.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Congratulations.
Thank you.
Julia, it looks like it was that photograph of the entrance was taken on the one day it might have rained, huh?
the one. Although I didn't, yeah. Although we've got some coming this weekend, so that's good.
Let's hope so.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you guys. So
Thank
with
you.
that, I'll ask, is there anything else we need to discuss with staff?
No, I think that's it from our end.
Okay, perfect. With
Michael,
that,
did we
I'll-
actually take a vote on the next meeting being on Zoom? Or did
We
we
did.
just? Okay, I
Yeah,
forgot.
so the next meeting will be on Zoom and then we'll consider,
At that time.
again, after getting some more additional information as far as
Right.
timing and location, all that.
Oh,
stuff.
heck, I probably made that motion. Thank you.
Yeah, as bad as the fact you did.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you get old.
With that said, I'll ask for a motion now to adjourn this meeting. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, aye, aye. Have a good weekend, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Let's pray for